What's good, Travelhourljm fam? Welcome to episode 10, the season finale. Ba-ba-ba-bam,
Yes, sir.
ba-ba-bam. Listen, this your boy Matt P, and I'm here with my co-host Joc. Joc, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, man. Glad to be here today. Episode 10. Can't believe it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We've made it to episode 10, which is our season finale. And man, it's been a journey for sure. An eventful, enjoyable journey. Jock, how are you feeling about the season?
You know what? I'm about to take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath, man. I gotta.
Like taking the moment. Whew.
We here. I
We
can't believe it's
here.
been 10 episodes, but
It's been 10 episodes, bro. We made it. Listen, I remember Jock came to me in the latter part of 2021. It's like, y'all got this idea. It might have been a little earlier than that too. And we was trying to. So originally, it was supposed to be three of us to serve as co-hosts, but some things in it was a conflict in schedule. That's what I want to say. And so it just ended up being the two of us. And then we kind of met, put some stuff in motion, and our first episode was launched in March, and here we are in July with our season finale, episode 10. So it's definitely been a pleasure, co-hosting with you, bro. It's been fun. We've learned a lot about the ins and out of podcasting and being a host and finding our rhythm and our flow. But I wouldn't trade it for anything. So appreciate you. I appreciate you for considering me when you had the vision of the travel hour.
no doubt, man. I appreciate you for rocking with me too. Do a podcast, they said, right?
Right.
Uh, but I think the biggest thing is like, we put it out there, things came together, and we did it. The biggest thing was just to do. And so we did it. And so here we are, season finale, episode 10, Travel
Yeah.
Out Family.
And it would not be possible without you all who have been supporting us. So shout out to each and every one of you who have listened to a podcast episode, who has shared it, who has recommended it to some friends and some family, and just have been supportive along the way from our genesis up until now. We truly do, like, sincerely from the bottom of my heart, we thank y'all, because this would not be possible without you. But if this is your first time listening, before you go back and listen through to episode 1 through 9, we need you to follow us on everything: YouTube, whatever podcast platform you're listening to, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. Follow us and connect with the Travel Hour fam so you can continue to grow with us and explore with us, because like we said, this is not just a podcast, but it's a movement. And so this is only the beginning, but we want you to be connected to us and leave a review. Let us know what you liked about the podcast. Let us know what you would like to hear us talk about in season 2. So yeah, definitely. If you haven't followed us on Instagram, follow us THEE Travel Hour, and you can find us on Instagram. Jock, I think I said a mouthful, but I definitely want to thank them. I know. Did you have anything you want to share with our fam?
Definitely. Well, on yesterday, my esteemed co-host, my guy Matthew, celebrated his 32nd birthday, man. So definitely want to take the time to give kudos to you for a birthday. I know you were working,
Appreciate it. Working.
but but at the end of the day, with everything that's going on and everything that we talk about, I'm glad to have you here as my co-host. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
glad that when I called upon you, you were there to answer the call. And so at the end of the day, I'm just glad to see that another black man has made it to a 32nd birthday.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Happy birthday, man.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. More life. It's only up from here. That's what I keep
Yeah,
saying.
boss.
It's
See,
only up. It's only up from here. So y'all stay tuned. Look, life about to be real good. So I'm here for it.
definitely.
I'm here for it. But yeah, man. So it's episode 10, the season finale, and you've seen us bring on multiple people talking about travel, talking about the importance of traveling, working abroad, their experiences of being Black and traveling abroad, traveling being a lifestyle. You heard all these things, but today we just wanted to come and simply maybe, I guess, wrap everything up. And today's title of today's episode is Making Time. And that's something that the message we've been trying to convey the whole season is to make time to go travel. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get to our title, our subject at hand, Joc, what's going on in the world? I think you might want to give them some history on how we came up with the segment, What's Going On in the World. What's the origin of that?
What's going on in the world? But yeah, we were sitting down trying to figure out, like, okay, we're about to do a podcast. I'm like, okay, like, where do we start, right? And I can remember the early days, like, we got a Google Doc and we just staring at each other looking crazy, right? And it was just one of those moments where we're like, okay, like, not only is it specifically about giving people the tools to travel and having that toolkit to build up, right? But at the same time, too, is like we understand that, living in this big world, things are interconnected and intertwined, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's important that we stay abreast of what's going on in the world, because that also affects the way we travel and eventually it affects us. So I know one thing, like, going internationally and being in different places, one of the knocks against folks that are from the United States of America is that they have no clue on what's going on outside the United States of America, right?
Yeah.
And so it's super important, to know what's going on. I think it shows empathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you step into somebody's place. Being curious will lead to good things a lot of times when you travel. And so just having to know about or where about, what's going on is super important.
Mm-hmm. Dope. And not to mention, growing up in a Black household, you always hear Big Mama or somebody of seniority say, with all that's going on in the world, I don't know what we're going to do. So that's kind of how we got to that too as well. No matter, I know somebody listening has heard somebody say, with everything going on in the world, though, and with all that's going on in the world,
they got to hit that rock. With all that's
right.
going on.
Right.
But yeah, we have one of those moments right now, because there's a lot going on. We'll hop into it. But
a lot going on.
A lot. If you haven't been paying attention, Sri Lanka, a country in South Asia, they just overthrew their president. And so a lot of these different countries were hit very, very hard during the pandemic, Sri Lanka being one of them. And, people got sick and tired, right? During the pandemic, we were sick and tired of being sick and tired, right? You saw the murder of George Floyd. You saw the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. And you saw all these different things going on in the midst of a pandemic. And I was like, yo, how do we have time for hate in the middle of a pandemic and folks are struggling, right?
Right. Dying too.
Dying. And so even in Sri Lanka, people have been protesting and taking the streets and talking to the government saying, hey, we don't have the basic things we need, housing, food, water. And so, they finally got fed up with no answers. And so, they gave them an ultimatum. Either you step down or we put you out. And so they stormed the president's house. They burned it to the ground and he fled the country. And so right now they're looking to establish the two opposing parties right now in the country are looking to establish a government. They're also seeking aid for some NGOs, but they had to get some things in order and follow the Constitution. So the biggest thing right now is that the prime minister has stepped in and he's making sure that during this transition of power, that it is done in a civil matter. But at the end of the day, power to the people.
Yeah.
We see so many times in these different places where, people are tired, sick and tired of not having what they need. And so a lot of folks will say like, hey, protesting doesn't work. I would beg to differ. Even when we talked about Colombia on the last episode, a lot of that fire and spunk came from a lot of the protests that were going down in Cali, Colombia, which led to civil unrest, which led to people that usually don't run to running and getting the support they need to win, right? And so, we got a voice. Let's use it, and let's make sure that we speak truth to power. So,
yeah,
shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to you all. I mean, it shows you that the power really does lie with the people, right? And so, shout out to Sri Lanka for stepping up, taking a stance, and letting your voice be heard.
Yeah, because I didn't know much about Sri Lanka. All I know is that Nikki had mentioned Sri Lanka in the verse one time, and that was about it.
I know they had that big old explosion, I want to say maybe a year before last in the factory, but it like exploded it was horrible. It was bad. Like, yeah, but that's yeah.
Yeah, so definitely thoughts and prayers with the country of Sri Lanka, and I hope something good changes on the way for them.
Yes.
While we're speaking of that, though, because there's a lot of gasoline being poured in that fire out there, gas prices are trending down. Now I don't know what they're doing in Cali right now. What it look like for y'all?
So I have noticed that it is a little cheaper, which I'm thankful for, right? Because I've been driving up and down the road every weekend. We'll get into that later, but driving 4.5 hours one way and then turn around and then come back to LA a few days later. So I'm thankful that gas is um, trending downward. My pockets are thankful.
Very much so, as my grandma would say, ripping and running.
Right.
And so, gas was extremely high. And I know, like, I was talking to some friends in Chicago, and they were like, "Yeah, like it's $7 a gallon." I'm like, "What?" Yeah, they was like, "Yeah, that's cheap." I'm like, "What?" So I was crying about my $5 a gallon, and I know everybody has their different struggles, but they are predicting that gas prices may fall under $4 a gallon before it's all said and done with.
Is that universal or is that geographic, location specific? That's what I'm trying to say.
We gonna see how that goes, because it's up and down. The majority is trending downward in the majority of the states, but we know that in certain areas that there's a lot more folks there, and that's different for them, right?
Right, because even here in California, that trending down is still I think I saw some maybe back in $5, but for the most part, still 6, 7. So I know it's gonna take a little while before we get to $4 if we get there.
Yeah, and I'm times are hard right now. Like, no cap, like as a millennial, like we're living through our second recession. Except we're older millennials now, right? And so it's like we got to pay the bills this time, right? Before we were in college during the recession, and it didn't hit as hard. But right now, like it's just been crazy with the gas prices. So Travelhourljm family, if you got a Costco card or a Sam's Club card, look out for your homies.
Yeah.
Let them use the card they need to and go fill up the tank. That does help a lot.
Yeah.
A little bit goes a long way. So
definitely, it's definitely during this time we need to, be compassionate to our brothers and sisters, because it's hard out here. I think we finally realized like some of the struggles our parents had to go through, even though they made it look so like effortlessly. They just made it look so like it wasn't a big thing. But now on this side of it, being grown and being out on your own, you're like, whoa, like, yo, like, I think it gives us a greater appreciation for our parents. But yeah, just be nice, just be compassionate. Because times are hard. People are going through, and you never know, how you lending a helping hand will change the trajectory of that person's day or even life. So, yeah.
And I have to really like pay homage. I'm grateful and thankful. I know I do a lot of complaining sometimes, and I don't take the time to be, thankful for what I do have. Yesterday, I went to the store, and I was purchasing what I had to get some gas and a couple of groceries to cook for Sunday, right? And got gas. I'm like, yeah, it's getting cheaper, but still almost $100 to fill up the car. And then I got to the grocery store, and I'm like, I saw the price of eggs, and I'm like, yo, like all these is charging $3 for a carton of eggs. It was 99 cents a month ago. I'm like, what's going on? I turn my head, right? And I see this man, and he like looks at me, and I look at him, and someone just told me like to look back, and he's stuffing a pack of ribs in his shirt. And I looked at him, he looked at me. I was like, bro, I ain't about to tell on you, man. Handle your business, big dog. Do what you gotta do, man. But regardless of what's going on, like that speaks to the sign of times we in, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm complaining about at least having the money in my account to go get some gas and groceries. This man don't know where his next meal probably coming from.
Yeah.
And so people out there, you never know what nobody's going through, but hopefully better's on the horizon. That's what I will say.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah, I'm also thankful. Just thankful. That's all I really can say without going on the whole rampage. But just thankful that even though times prices are going up, that I'm able to continue to kind of move like I've been moving. So yeah.
So yeah, help is on the way. Well, we'll see. But speaking of help, if y'all know it is the dead heat of summer, folks are outside traveling, and if you got any trips planned to Europe, whoo, moment of silence. Because it's real over there. Like all of their major airports are backed up. Them folks in London have said to stop selling plane tickets because they can't handle the capacity of folks pulling up to the airport. I'm talking about bags are getting lost, flights are getting delayed, and folks are at the airport, quite frankly, just pissed. So, what I do recommend, if you flying to Europe, if you're going through Schiphol and Amsterdam, or if you're going to one of the two airports in London, with Heathrow and Gatwick, don't check no bag. Probably some folks out here like, hell no, you crazy.
I think, yeah, and especially don't check a bag if that's not your final destination. If they gotta switch your bag to another plane, that's horrible. You asking for your bag to kind of get lost or misplaced. I think I was reading an article not so long ago. It was like I guess London Heathrow's airport loaded. I think it was a Delta plane with like thousands and thousands of luggage that had just been like sitting at the airport because they had got lost or it was delayed or something like that, and now they have to send it back to the States to the owners, which is probably it's another hassle for whoever got to deal with that. But yeah, so don't check a bag. Listen, I think we talked about it in a previous episode about we did Europe without checking a bag, and we are larger guys, and our clothes take up a little more space in our luggage, but we were able to still manage to pack a week's worth of clothes and a carry-on and a travel backpack. So it's doable. If we can do it, certainly you all can do it. And it would just cut down on the headache and the worry and the anxiety that comes with checking a bag and wondering if it's going to be there when you arrive to wherever you're headed.
Yeah, and we also learned that when you're traveling with a group, like it's so easy to just have because you already have your bags. It's like, okay, we off the plane, we straight to customs, let's get up out here, right?
Yeah.
So it definitely makes things a lot quicker too, as well. So definitely recommend it. But if y'all are traveling to Europe, please, step your carry-on game up, please, because we gonna need it now. But you will need that. Well, in other news, the planes is crazy right now, the airports is crazy, but my people. Why are we on the Carnival cruise ship fighting? Why y'all on the Carnival cruise ship fighting?
Just up there fighting, acting like you ain't got no home training.
And you can't run, you can't go nowhere. You're on a Carnival cruise ship.
Can't go nowhere.
And they talking about they didn't fought from the goddamn 3rd floor all the way up to like the 6th floor. Talking about the fight went on. How you fight for 2 hours?
And was it multiple people? Was it 1, 2, 3?
If you have not seen the Shade Room, there was an incident that took place on a Carnival cruise ship last month, and there was a couple that was accused of having an alleged threesome. Well, I guess all the parties weren't in the know. So the parties that weren't in the know went to go confront some folks at the casino that night. And it didn't go too good. And so they said things got a little rowdy, went back and forth. And this went on for a little while. And then they kind of exchanged words again on other floors. And then other bystanders start looking and watching. Next thing you know, they got the fight. And then it ended up almost 60 people out there in the fight.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So it's kind of hard to do dirt on a cruise ship, y'all. Like, y'all on a cruise ship.
Ain't nowhere to go except to another floor. But clearly that don't even work because y'all was fighting on multiple floors. So, like, yeah.
And I don't know what's going on with the security with Carnival. I don't know why it took 2 hours to get everything situated. But they said the people was waiting on them when they docked the ship, and they had to have the U.S. Coast Guard escort them back to land. So
all 60 of them, or just the 3 or the 4, the 3, it was, I don't know. I guess I don't know.
I'm not sure, but we got to do better, y'all. So like, you know, if y'all got any cruises coming up.
So y'all on this cruise trying to do sescapades and ain't got and can't listen.
Listen, wow. So God bless. Have fun.
Right. YOLO, I guess.
Yeah, speaking of YOLO, you know, because Matthew always gives slander to one of the budget airlines that I prefer to fly with, or that I fly with from time to time, because they just have great deals, right? And so, you know, I always go to bat for them. But Spiriana messed up this time, y'all.
Go ahead and give them another reason why we shouldn't fly with Spirit. Please help the people.
Now, to Spirit's defense, this did happen to another plane that landed in Miami Airport a week before them. So, but as a Spirit flight from Tampa to Atlanta was landing at the airport, there was a malfunction with the brakes, and the brakes caught on fire on the runway, y'all. So folks land, they hear, you know, the regular boom when their wheels hit the ground. They heard another boom. I guess the brakes blew out, and then it caught on fire. So on the left side of the windows, folks looking out, they see flames coming up from under the plane. So they like, yo, what's going on? And see this. When some stuff about to go down, you don't tell black people to be calm. That's the last thing you're supposed to do, right? And so the flight attendant decided to say, hey, I need everybody to remain in their seats and be calm.
They heard, get up and try to get off this plane.
Baby, the plane on fire. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't, if I was sitting in the exit row on that plane, I don't know what I would have did. Might have been the first time I pulled that latch and hit the slide.
Right. Listen. Yeah, I know that has to be nerve-wracking, right? To look out the window and see fire, but not only that, but to know that you have made it to your destination. Nothing went wrong during your entire flight, and as soon as you land, you see fire coming from up under the plane. That has to be so traumatizing. Like, Spirit would have to, like, they would be owing me some points, something, just for pain and suffering.
Yeah, I probably would have sitting there like, Lord, I done finessed a free carry-on with Spirit, and you just let this plane catch on fire.
Right. Listen, my bad, God, my bad. I won't never break the rules again.
So yeah, Spirit, we are hoping that better is on the way, and yeah, I really can't really say that much about that. So
yeah, we'll figure it out. Hopefully, whenever they decide whoever they want to merge with, that it resolve some of those issues.
Yeah, that's another thing that's up in the air. That decision got pushed back again, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's only time will tell with that.
So we shall see. But I think, as you mentioned before, Matt, you know, as we look back through the season and see all the different things that we touched on, I think one of the biggest reoccurring things that keeps coming back up, right, is just, you know, we talk about these different strategies and having different things in place and tips and travels, but I don't think any of that matters unless you intentionally make the time to actually say that I'm going to travel. You know, whether your friends are going or not, you know, whether you think you have all of the finances, whether you don't think it's the right time of year or you don't think it's the right group or things like that, like all of those different variables that can go into you backing out of a trip, I can promise you is going to pay off if you go. And so I think that's so important, because I know that, you know, myself and you kind of share something in common, is where that we've moved around to different cities and different states. And I think, you know, every time I'm getting ready to move to like a new location, I kind of get that same feeling like right before I go on a trip. And it's just like, ooh, but I learned to embrace it, right?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about like relocating and things like that, what is it for you, you know, that keeps you going and keeps you having that wanderlust per se, right?
Well, speaking of moving, I'm in the process of moving from Southern California to Northern California. And so I definitely identify with that feeling of like the kind of pre-trip jitters. It's just so much that you're trying to figure out in such a small time frame. But I think for me, what keeps me going is that um, travel for me is very therapeutic. For me, because I am involved in a lot of things, hold a lot of different hats, hold a lot of different positions. That's really the only time that I can kind of get away, let my hair down, reset, and then come back and be prepared to continue doing what I was doing, what I have like in my day to day life. And so I think just the feeling of being gone or going somewhere, that's like what kind of keeps me going, right? Like my happy place is like at the airport. People don't like the airport, but it's just like when I get to the airport, it's just like it's a feeling I get like I'm getting ready to go somewhere. Like, and so that's kind of what fuels me and keeps me going in terms of keeping that wanderlust. And then I mean it literally stems from my childhood. And then I know me, it's just almost like I guess it's the best what I can use. It's like you don't like to sit still for too long, and that's me when it comes to traveling, right? I don't like to kind of be stationed in my home base too long. Every now and then I need to go ahead and plan something just so I can get away and then come back, and then I'm good for a couple of months. But yeah, what about you, Jock?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that's a great point. I think like I've had to relocate this year, and so I moved from South Florida to Texas, and this has been an interesting journey, right? But
Mm-hmm.
I think that I've from traveling, I'll say this. I'll back up. In 2019, I took my first solo trip out of the country to Cuba. Um, First solo international trip, and even though Cuba is 90 miles from the coast of South Florida, it was still a whole different world for me. And a lot of my friends had backed out of the trip for various reasons. He couldn't go, and I was like super close to not going. And I was like, you know what? At the end of the day, it's my birthday. I'm gonna go out here and have a good time, have fun, enjoy myself, and just let my hair down, and let the wind take me where it goes, right? And I did it, and it ended up being one of the best trips of my life. Still got some friends in
Mm-hmm.
Cuba to this day, and so that was one of my moments. Like, okay, it's like okay, like I can do this. I can really do this like on my own. I don't mind going somewhere, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, of course, you've got to be smart and mindful, but you also got to live in that moment of, fear. You got to live in that moment of that slight nervous and that jitteriness because you know that when this feeling does happen, ultimately better things happen for me, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so that I've learned, and I haven't mastered it, but it's been a great journey to try to like just hone into that and lean into it,
Mm-hmm.
and see where it takes me. And at the end of the day, like all I'm going to do is learn, right? It may be a perceived failure, but at the end of the day, it's a lesson learned, right? And so that's kind of how I look at it.
Yeah. And it's good you bring that point. I've been at a conference all last week. And one of the things was like, even when you feel scared, just do it scared, right? Because the only thing that beats a failure is a try. And so you sitting at home because you're scared to go by yourself, or you don't know all the ins and outs, or you don't think like Jock said earlier, don't have the funds necessary that you need to travel. But sometimes you just gotta take that risk, right? Now you gotta be wise. Like now, if you gotta pay something or something like that, don't use that money. Don't use your bill money now or your rent money to book a trip.
Mhm.
But at the same time, you gotta be willing to take that chance, and take a bet on yourself, right? Take a bet on yourself and stretch your wings and fly and explore because will you will benefit from it afterwards, just like Jackson. Like you like that feeling that you will have after you finish that trip, after you go finish that road trip, whatever it may be, it's gonna be such a sense of accomplishment. It's like I did that. And not only did I do it, but I'm getting ready to do it again. So you gotta take the risk.
Agree. We've got to take the risk, and I think we also too got to understand that we've at some point we've got to learn how to detach ourselves from the work we do from the day to day, right?
Mm-hmm.
In this country, it is very much work before everything,
Yeah.
and you can see that in how we live, right? Like we don't sit down and eat dinner as families like that no more, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can sit in the same room with folks and just be on our phones and not even interact with them, right? We can, go to work and then we work so hard, we get home and we don't have any energy to even do anything or entertain anything else, right?
Right.
And so I think it's also important too, is like as a form of wellness, and we talk about wellness overall, right? Because we know that mental health has become exacerbated by the pandemic. People had to sit home by themselves and had never done it before. And so the biggest thing, what comes from that, is that you have to find whatever form of self-care that is. And
Yeah.
self-care doesn't mean that you got to plan like this extravagant vacation, every month.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Self-care may be like, hey, like I don't have Jamaica money this month, but you know what? Like I got a cousin that lives 2 hours up the road. I'm just gonna get away and just detach and kind of have a good time and maybe do some go for a walk in the park or go see something else in their city, right?
Yeah.
But I think it's super important as far as like understanding to have that balance. Like, of course, we got to pay bills, but what's a life lived if you only live to go to work and pay bills, right?
Mm-hmm. So you're not living, you're just existing, right? When you do that, when you have that mentality, and even if you can't afford to like go out of the city that you're in, book your hotel and stay in that hotel like you at somewhere remote, like at a remote location, and just get out of the house, right? Take a hike, go to the beach, whatever it may be, and practice self-care, right? Because I think we do neglect ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
um, because we feel like we gotta. If I don't go to work, then how is this task gonna be done? But let you die, and guess what? You're gonna find out how replaceable you are. All right, and so you got to prioritize yourself, because if you don't take care of you, who else gonna take care of you? Because people will naturally, as long as you keep going, they're gonna be right there with their hand out, asking you and giving you more tasks and asking of more of you. But you got to set those boundaries, and that's where travel. I think travel is, one of those boundaries. Like it's like I know, for me personally, I know when it's like I need to hurry up and book something and go somewhere because I feel myself falling into a place that I don't want to fall into because I'm overwhelmed. I'm old. I mean, I've got so much going on, and I just need to pause and reset and just go have fun and not worry about my day to day happenings. And so you got to know your own personal stuff too, and be able to identify like, yo, I need to go somewhere.
Yeah, somebody had made a joke because I was in Tampa last weekend and celebrating. Shout out to Troy, our LB, our line brother, Troy, our fraternity brother.
Yes, sir.
He's getting married in Tulum in September to his beautiful fiance Tasha,
Yeah.
and we got a chance to go celebrate. I got a chance to go celebrate with them for his bachelor weekend in Tampa. And Tampa's a dope. Shout out to Tampa, but had a great time. It was a good group of guys, and one of the biggest things that we look back as we look at that trip is just like, it was funny. I was talking to some of the guys I went to college with, and it was like, yo, like, when's the last time I seen you? And the conversation is like, bro, like, I ain't seen you in like probably like 5 years. And I'm like, what? Like, yeah, it's been 5 years just that quick, right? And so really make time, to get there, to see folks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I know it's not always possible, but sometimes I think we just don't even make the effort, right? Because
Yeah.
we get tunnel vision, right? We get bogged down in the day to day, and we don't kind of just as intentional as we are as far as like getting up and going to work. We should be that intentional and invested in our self care and our wellness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I know, like I'm not perfect. Like I slack. There's times where it's like, okay, cool. I'm going through a slump right now. Like I haven't been to the gym since I got back from the bachelor weekend, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I also knew like my body was telling me it's like you've been on the go for the last 2 months. You need to just chill. And so
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
that, right? But now it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm back to normal, got a routine. Now it's time to get back in there and get active, right?
Definitely. Yeah. I always, in terms of self care and traveling and making time, I always say people make time for what they want to make time for. right? Just like people find money for when they want to do something.
Mm-hmm.
People, and it boils down to you making that time, being dedicated and intentional about making that time for you to go travel. We make time to do everything else, things that serve us and things that don't serve us. We make time to do it, and why not make time to get out there and travel and explore and grow as a person and get a better global view and perspective of the world. And so yeah, you gotta make that time. You gotta make the time. Self care is important, and I know we're talking from the lens of travel. We do understand that self care is not just travel related,
Mm-hmm.
and so we do encourage whatever that self care looks like for you. On you know when you're not traveling, please continue to do that as well.
Definitely, and I always plug, therapy. I attend
Yeah.
therapy. It's been life changing for me, and there was nothing like wrong with me. My fault. Nothing wrong with me to go to therapy, right, and seek help. But at the same time, it was funny because I was on a trip, and I realized that I was kind of like playing because I had a long flight back home. I had like a 23-hour flight. Had a lot of time to think, right? And
Hmm.
on that flight, I did some reflection, and I was just like, "Yo, like you really showed your ass on this trip. Like that's not cool." And so as I thought about it, I was like, I need to go. I need to go to therapy. Like I need to
Yeah.
work on some things. And as I went to therapy, I was able to work through some things that I didn't even know were triggering me.
Hmm.
And so now having that insight, it's like I don't even let myself get to that place, or I'm able to catch myself. Or it's like, hey, if I do get to that place, I do have the conscience now to go back and say I'm not going to fall over my ego and lose a friendship over my pride because I don't want to apologize, right?
Right. Right.
And so as a person, like, it doesn't have to be like, hey, like I'm fighting like a mental disorder, but that could be the case. And you're seeking therapy for it. Great, you're doing the work. It could be, hey, like I'm having trouble in my career and I'm not happy where I'm at, right? You
Hmm.
go to a therapist for that. You want to talk about different things as far as relationships, right? Whether that be like intimate or platonic relationships, right? Those are the things you discussed there. Family dynamic is super important because we know as Black folks, a lot of times the family dynamic can be where the most trauma is felt, right?
Right. Right.
Um, and so just understanding that, like, hey, like I look at it as like the cheat code of life, right? I get a chance to go figure out like what triggers me and then how to move forward and
Hmm.
ultimately learn how to heal because
Yeah.
it only
Yeah.
triggers you if you haven't healed from it fully yet, right? And so I think it's so very important. Black men, I know it's a stigma in our community, but if y'all hear me out there, definitely don't be too big to go to therapy. There's a lot of free resources
Hmm.
out there as well, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's definitely one of my goals for this year is to find a therapist. Nothing's wrong, but just to talk through some things, and to kind of, like you said, know what triggers you and why. Because we got to cut some stuff at the root and stop letting that stuff grow back. So, um, yeah, so that's definitely one of my goals for this year. I know we're in the second half of the year, but um, still, I still got time. I still got time. I still got time. And if you listening, you've been contemplating, go ahead, go find you a therapist. There's a lot of different services out here, a lot of different places. And the good thing about a therapist is you get it's kind of you get to shop around and see which one is the best fit for you. So, don't be discouraged if you try one person and that person is not the person that you connect with. Let's go find another person.
Definitely, I agree, man. So I think those are some of the biggest things, and also it's been great to have this platform to share this with people, right?
Hmm.
I think one of the things I was looking at too, as you said, I was in Tampa, right? And so when you talk about a bachelor weekend, like I remember I was doing some research, hitting folks up on Instagram, trying to figure out what's the cool spots and everything like that. And Tampa's a dope city. Shout out to Tampa. A lot of people sleep on it. But the question can come back like, why y'all coming to Tampa? Most of the
Hmm.
folks from there was like, yo, like it's a lot, excuse me. They were like, yeah, it's plenty to do in Tampa, but most folks don't think that. So what led y'all to come here, right? And I was like, I've heard the same thing. Like a lot of people sleep on Tampa, and it's decently priced, it's a hidden gem, and it truly was. And so, as I always will be an advocate for, like Houston, Atlanta, Vegas is cool. Everybody hits the hot spots and all that good stuff, but make sure you go off the broken path sometimes. Try some new cities that may be sleepers and gems. You never know what type of time you may have.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think just like you said, yeah, the places that are not the popular places, I've found to be like the places that I've had the most fun.
Definitely. I mean, when you talk about, because we always hear about the first place, like it's like, okay, cool. Like you go to Georgia, everybody's in Atlanta, but it's like, don't sleep on Savannah,
Mm-hmm.
you go to North Carolina, everybody's like Charlotte. Don't sleep on Raleigh. You go to Florida, everybody's like Miami, 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 a little bit of Fort Lauderdale. Don't sleep on Tampa or Orlando, right? And so plenty to do. And I think that's super important. And I think as we've gone through like season one and we've highlighted these different things with our different guests. Well, first off, can we take some time to shout out our guests?
Yeah. Shout out to our guest.
Yeah, shout out to our guests. They were amazing. Like they took time out of their schedules to be with us. I do not remember everybody's name, so I'm not going to mess up and not do it justice. I'm old, and we talk about 9+ episodes, so that's tough. But no, truly, truly, truly do appreciate everybody that came on as guests, took their time out, and sat with us and shared their gems. I think we learned so much from everybody.
So much, so much. They dropped some gems. Yeah, I'm so appreciative for each person who's taking the time out of their schedule just to chop it up with us here at the Travel Hour. And yeah, man, it's gonna be. Yeah, I've learned a lot this season.
Definitely. Any episodes that stuck out to you as we're looking back on it, Matt?
I think I'm about to say the Working Abroad While Black was a good episode. Black Men Do Travel was great. Uh, I mean, I liked every episode, but I would say those two, and the one with LaSarah were like the ones that kind of stick with me. But all of them, oh, and the one about documenting the trip, that one gave me a lot of pointers on how to, you know, create the reels and the IG posts and stuff like that. So, yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I would definitely say similar. It was interesting. Now that I'm looking back on it, like we had LaSarah here to talk about solo travel, but she did it, from a woman's perspective, which was pretty cool. And some of the things that I don't even think about sometimes that she was able to share insight on. I was like, okay, cool, like that makes a lot of sense. And then there was even some things going on with like Black Men Do Travel. It was interesting to see somebody with like-minded interests, right? Because you don't we kind of like unicorns out there. Like you see a black man when you're traveling every now and then, you give him the nod. But to hear somebody have a conversation with him was dope. I really enjoyed. I was empowered by the episode with Working Abroad because I do aspire to do that one day.
Yeah,
I do aspire to live out the country, and I think that was very motivational to have friends that are actually doing that, right?
Yeah,
and to know, like, excuse me, like not only the stress of being in a new place, but having a language barrier. And that's been like one of my biggest hangups about living abroad, right? Is to living in a place with a language barrier, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that would definitely have to be if I had to shout. But like I said, all of the episodes and our guests brought value. Those are some of the things that stuck out to me. And we also didn't talk about our one episode with our Euro trip, right? And so I think that was one of the highlights of this year for me. What is Euro stack up for you?
Europe, it's up there. Europe, that was the highlight I think of the year thus far. Especially because I got to do it with the homies, so Joc, CJ, Buck, and myself. So that was, and we planned it so strategically. And then to come back and share our experiences on the podcast was even more dope because we got to hear everyone's perspective, right? Because we are all, even though we're on the same trip, we all are four different individuals, and we, we're able to tell from our own perspectives, what stood out, how appreciative we are, what we learned during this trip. And so that was definitely, something dope, something that I will hold near and dear to my heart for as long as I'm alive, and look forward to doing more trips, with the homies and coming back and talking about it.
Definitely. I'm still on a high from that trip. It was we definitely had a good time from just meeting up in Atlanta, seeing everybody, then flying to Amsterdam, then celebrating a birthday in Milan, Italy. Like that
Yeah.
was for real. It was just like, yo, like we're having a birthday dinner on the rooftop of Milan, Italy right now.
Mm-hmm.
I even think about like riding scooters through the cathedral. At 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right. And then having to wake up and be at a 7 o'clock flight.
I was hurt.
But it was worth it. It was worth it. Definitely gonna revisit Amsterdam though. So y'all stay tuned. We're gonna revisit Amsterdam for a longer period of time. We've been looking at flights and stuff and see when we can get back there. So my man Axel, if you're listening, we coming back. So make sure you at the hip hop club. That's what it was, right?
Yes, the only official hip
The
hop bar in
only
Amsterdam.
one.
They got that fire. They got that
Right.
fire too. They got all the tracks. Tupac, Biggie, everything. Even Millie rocking that thing.
So we're gonna be looking forward to coming back, staying longer, and learning more about the Dutch culture. So stay tuned, Travelhourljm fam, because that's gonna come sooner than you think.
So any trips you're looking forward to? Because I know we did some traveling, a lot of traveling in the front half of the year. But anything that you're looking up that's coming up either this year or whatever for what's going on for 2023?
I think the only thing I have planned like right now is the Tulum trip for Troy's wedding. I'm kind of laying low because I am in the process of moving, and that requires funds, and so I don't want to overdo it and plan too much, and not have what I need to take care of. But I am looking to maybe try to squeeze something in during Thanksgiving, and I think I'll be in Chicago uh, during the Christmas holiday. So not too many international trips, but I guess I'm trying to work on something for Thanksgiving. I think that's what I'm really looking at right now. I'm trying to figure out
What you
what
doing
I
for
can
Thanksgiving, bro?
squeeze. I'm trying. I've been looking at I looked at Mexico again. I looked at Seattle. Looked at Denver. I even looked at Vancouver. And just trying to see like what the prices are looking like right now. Just get away for a few days and then come on back. I don't. I think I haven't. I don't really go home for Thanksgiving. Um, I think the last Thanksgiving I was home was 2000 and I want to say 17 maybe. But yeah, I don't think I'm ready to quite go home this year either. Because this will be the second year without my grandmother, and so I'm trying to find some things to put in there. But I may go home for Christmas if I don't go anywhere else because my dad's birthday is on Christmas, and I haven't been home for Christmas since before I graduated college. So yeah, I'm gonna try to squeeze that in there too. What about you?
I did not know your dad's birthday was on Christmas.
Yeah, we got some we got holiday birthdays in my family. My dad is Christmas. I got a brother that's Valentine's Day, and then I got a sister that's July 4th.
Y'all planned that.
Listen, got holiday babies in my family.
No, dude. I think it's you bring up a good point. I haven't been going home. I haven't been home for the holidays in the last couple of years too. And quite frankly, like there's a lot of trauma that lives at home for me. So I don't have the luxury of just going back to this huge family with open arms and then having this big grand dinner and exchanging gifts. Like it's more so running around because we all intertwined. We got different stuff going on, and so eventually it just became too much, and I did stop like going home for the holidays. But I do want to visit my family outside of the holidays, right? But what I have found solace in these last couple of years is just hanging out with my friends during the holidays, right?
Yeah.
Like a Friendsgiving meetup, or like we did last year. CJ and I came out to LA, and we had a blast doing nothing. Like we was in the house playing cards, we was chilling, we was watching Netflix series, but we had a blast doing nothing. And we all just look up, like it'd be like, yeah, we about to go down here, and then it'd be like 3 hours later, like y'all still watching this? Yeah. Y'all want to go out? Nah. All right, we're just gonna get something to eat later.
Right. And it's needed, right? It just yeah, I think some of those are some good trips too. Like when you don't necessarily have like we had some things that we like wanted to do, but I mean, I think they were here for like almost 7 to 10 days, and so every day not gonna be a turn up day. Was just to be in the company of people that you're familiar with. I think that meant more than anything.
It really did. And I think sometimes we take that for granted. I know I did when I was younger, but as I started to get older, I realized it's the simple things, just being with the homies, right? You can't take
Hmm.
that for granted.
Making
Just
the
being
time.
making the time, actually, just not being responsible for anything and anybody, right? Just
Yeah.
chilling.
Hmm.
So those are good times, and I do embrace that. I enjoy like going different places with the homies sometimes during the holidays and stuff like that as well.
Definitely. So, uh, yeah, maybe we can figure out a meetup for Thanksgiving 22. Listen,
Yeah,
um,
because we could throw a little, we can cook, we could throw something together now, so that's not the
I
issue.
got a strong order something that's good for me, but y'all can cook.
Well, look, we're gonna do we'll do I trust y'all, so we'll do a potluck style, bring your dish. It don't matter how you made it or didn't, I ordered it, so
Right.
we good.
Listen, we'll figure it out. We'll figure
Mhm.
it out.
But we don't do potluck with everybody now, because some of
Nah,
y'all
some of y'all got dirt up on your nails and don't wash your hands.
only thing y'all know is Casamigos and hookah, so
We are not the same.
they were talking about these Casamigo wings. I don't want that. I don't want that.
Right.
I don't want that, cuz.
Mm-mm. Nah. But yeah, man. That's all I got for this year as far as travel. 2023. Um, now that I'm leaving LA, which is gonna be so hard for me to do, I know I'll be back and forth to LA. Just for the simple fact, a lot of my friends when I moved to California, I only knew two people. And now I've literally here I am almost 6 years later. I've built my community from the ground up out here, and so definitely maintain all those relationships. But we'll be back and forth. I know I got a wedding down here in October that I got to come down to. The fashion district is down here. You come to get your suits and your tailors down here. And so that's not really travel, but it's travel.
Well, I think it's important that you share that because there's some folks out there. The way things are shaping up with the job market is that there's a lot more remote opportunities. There's a
Hmm.
lot of different companies that are moving their headquarters and things like that, and so people are moving, especially millennials, to go get jobs, right? And so if you're out there like pondering or passing up on opportunities, this is really for you, like right, like it can be done. You're looking at two people that are doing it.
Hmm.
Doing it scared. Shit, I don't have it all figured out.
Right. I don't got nothing figured out except going up there every weekend and still trying to find a job up that way before I make that move completely. And not working at all right now. So uh listen, but I'm still doing it. I'm still committed to it. I'm still venturing out, doing it scared. But one thing I can say is that, everything is still falling into place and I'm still able to eat, pay my bills, and everything else. So, yeah. So you gotta do it even when you're scared. But we praying for one of these job opportunities come through
Definitely.
because yeah, your boy, I need to get back to feeling like I was when I was working. So yeah.
Definitely. And I think you brought up a great point talking about, as we say in South Florida, finding your vibe or finding your tribe, right?
Hmm.
And so moving to a new city can be very scary. Like, first of all, like a lot of times, like you can't take everything with you. So 9 times out of 10, like if you're moving far, like you're gonna have to start over at some point with something,
Yeah.
right? And I think the biggest thing is like even like I had some friends help me move one time, and it was like cool, like help me move my stuff. They stayed down for the weekend and then they were gone. It's like, damn, it's me. You be looking like Will in the episode, the last episode, Uncle Phil, the house was empty.
Right.
So what was that like for you as far as like finding your people and building your tribe in a new city?
I think for me, luckily I knew like I said one or two people when I moved out here. And then from there, I moved out here for grad school, and met people there. But I think my true like authentic relationships, they kind of just formed out of me being willing to going out and meeting people, right? I like to say that I'm antisocial or introverted, but most people would beg to differ, and they always say I don't have a hard time meeting people. But at the same time, just because I meet people doesn't mean that I have a easier time letting them get close to me. And so I think for me, a lot of my like friendships that I've built and like the family that I've like acquired while I've been here has come one from church, and then just taking a chance to go out to different events around the city. And like my group of friends here in Long Beach, shout out to them. I met them. It was during COVID. Everybody was locked up in the house, and it's like, yo, we're gonna do a picnic on the block. We're gonna do a picnic or a gathering on the bluff, which is the grass area that overlooks the beach here in Long Beach. And I had just moved to Long Beach. I think it was like the day after my birthday. It was my 30th birthday. And I was like, why not? I mean, I still got some stuff left over from my birthday. Let me take it up there. And from there, we've been rocking ever since. So just taking that time to venture out and take a chance at meeting people. And then, you know, that's pretty much how I because you meet one person, you start meeting other people. And then some of those other people you kind of become great friends with. Case in point, met one of my friends, uh, met him. We all went on a trip for his birthday. It was four of us total, but met the first friend and then gained two more friends from that trip. And to this day, we all tight. And that's like our like the LA crew. Like when I say I need to go out, grab a bite to eat with the homies, or get a little drink or something. Those are the three that I call on.
No, definitely, and I thank you for sharing that, because I think the biggest thing is putting yourself out there, as you mentioned, right? And in
Mm-hmm.
that story, you're saying is like, hey, I put myself out there, I met this person, and then from that, like relationships started to grow, right? And so,
Yeah.
it's interesting to hear you tell that story, because I got to see it when I came to
Mm-hmm.
Long Beach, and we go in place. Oh yeah, we going to this friend's house, or they gonna host us, and it was like it's like y'all been knowing each other for like forever.
Mm-hmm.
Even though to a mutual friend's house that hosted us for Christmas dinner, it was just all
Yeah.
love, all vibes. Like I really enjoyed myself, and so it's super important to really put yourself out there in a new place. Like don't just stay cooped up in the house. Well, I know COVID was happening during that time, so you had to be different in how you engage folks.
Mm-hmm.
But as we're getting outside more and moving around and having different things like vaccines and stuff like that, it's important to meet people.
Yeah. We are designed to be social creatures. We are social creatures, and so that's why a lot of people went through like depression and all this thing during the lockdown, because we didn't have that social interaction, especially if you're like myself or Joc. You live by yourself. It's only you and the
Mhm.
walls, and so
Yeah.
you had to find ways so you wouldn't go like crazy. You had to find ways to make connections with people. And Zoom is cool, and doing the virtual happy hours, that was all cool. But at some point in time, like I need that physical interaction with somebody. I mean, you do it safe, masked up, however you need to do it. You do it according to your own comfortability, your level of comfortability. But it's doable. It has been done, because I've had to do it. Joc has had to do it. Moving to Miami, uh, and so yeah, gotta take the chance. You know.
And I think that's super important, because I think sometimes I'm starting to notice that it seems like, okay, one thing I've started to notice as of late is that if one thing that travel's going to do, it'll show you which friend groups you're going to travel with, but it also will definitely show you if you have outgrown folks.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
For
okay
sure.
to it is okay to outgrow folks sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean like, hey, like we're not cool no more. Nah, maybe it means that, hey, like where I'm headed and the things that I'm interested in, they no longer are interests of yours, and that's okay. But we do share that bond. But at the end of the day, like so I'm going in this direction, right?
Right. You have every right to protect your own peace, right? And to protect the direction and the path that you're headed on, right? Just because, just like you said, when you start growing and moving forward, everybody not meant to go with you. Some people would do more harm than they would do good if you take them with you. And
Yeah.
so you got, it's not like y'all had a falling out. It's not, y'all just grew apart.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody that I have befriended while I've been in LA, we not necessarily close friends, are still friends. I've had some come, had some go. But like my solid crew, I appreciate all of y'all. Shout out to y'all. Y'all know who y'all are.
Yeah,
So
because they'll kick somebody out that group now. They don't play.
listen. We will serve you an eviction notice quickly. This ain't gonna work.
This ain't gonna work.
We regret to inform you.
Like
Right.
my head hit the floor. but
Mm-hmm.
but no, it's super important. No, because when you start trying to force things,
Mm-hmm.
that's when you get into trouble. That's when you're on the trip and you got the friend talking about, well, we had brunch and I only ordered pancakes and one mimosa, so I'm not splitting the check with y'all.
Mm-mm.
And they talking about they flying home early. See, that's what growth is, y'all. You, you
Nah.
know, you know who to take on the trip because we not about to eat chicken fingers the whole time while we in Paris.
Nah.
Because you talking about you can't read the menu.
You better download Google Translate and let it
Mm-hmm.
read for you.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, man, it's been a journey. Relocating, but even in the midst of all of that, right? I'm trying to make sure you know we express and reiterate that it all boils down to making time, right? You got to make time to meet people. You got to make time to travel. You got to make time to practice self care. You got to make time to work on your own development. It boils down to making that time, right? And we talk about everything that you've heard this season is going to require you to make some time, to be intentional, right? Not just saying, "Oh, I'm gonna wait until somebody else plan it or whatever," because as long as you keep waiting, you're gonna be waiting. And so sometimes you gotta take the initiative your own self, and you're like, "Yo, I don't know what they're gonna do, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plan this trip. Even if I just write something down on a piece of paper, I may not go this year, but just write it down. Start a list of places that you want to go. Be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about noting and writing down. Get you a whiteboard. That way, I got like 3 different whiteboards in my house and the big post-its, and I write stuff on them all the time. Just that way, when I'm walking around the house, I constantly see it, and therefore now it's okay. Well, I ain't did that yet, so let me look at. Let me look more. Let me look into that and see how I can make that happen. And the same thing go for planning the trip. Write them destinations that you want to go to now, and make time. Not only make time to travel, but before you make time to go, you got to make time and plan the trip. So do your research, learn about the place, learn the do's and the don'ts, especially when you're going to countries that may be a little more religious, know what you can wear and what you cannot wear, what's offensive and what's not offensive. So that way you keep yourself safe while you're on the trip. But you got to make the time.
Definitely. I think you put that together so well. It's really about prioritizing and just making the time.
Mm-hmm.
I know we've always asked everybody else on the show when we had guests, like, but I want to ask you though, like, why do you think it's important for Black people to share their travel experiences?
I think it's important for one, just looking at my own personal experiences and how I've benefited from travel and being able to come back and share with people and just see how genuinely interested they are. But it's more than just sharing, right? I want them to be able to experience it. I believe that having more Black people in the travel space would broaden our appreciation, and I broaden our worldview and how we view the world, make us more aware and uh, acceptable of various cultures. I think that it's just a benefit of traveling, right? You know, saying being able to say that I've gone here, that I've tasted this, that I've hiked up this mountain, that I went to the Seven Wonders. I just think that it increases your quality of life, right? That's for me. You know, I believe that the more people we can get, the more people of color, the more Black people, the more brown people that we can get into the travel space and document and sharing your experiences, I think that it will make it more attainable for those who feel that they may not be able to do our goal because of X, Y, and Z, right? And I think, that's why I'm so thankful to like what Lacerra does with grants for stamps and getting passports for those college students and letting them start the younger you start. I didn't start until I was in college, but I'm thankful for when I did start, but I do think that if we can get them started younger, that would be dope, right? Whether it be a vacation, whether it be a mission trip, an internship, study abroad, whatever the case may be. I think that if we can get more people in that space, it would be a force to reckon with, right? Because we'll be able to see that the world is bigger than what we see every day.
Agreed. Now I will push back. I think that we started, and it started with our parents, right?
Yeah.
We didn't have the means to go, out of the country per se,
Right.
but
Yeah.
we were traveled, right? And it kind of sparked that in us. And so even I was like just saying, it kind of sparked me. It's like, yeah, I didn't start traveling internationally until I got to college, but then it was like, well, we were moving around, going to family reunions, going to see cousin, because like older Black folks, they not flying.
Nah, they not. They're gonna take, honey. The Bible said, "Lo, I'll be with you always." That's what they're gonna say.
They gonna drive. My uncle, he's my great uncle. He's my grandmother's brother, and this dude will not get on a plane, but he'll ride Greyhound to me. I said, bro, I don't trust Greyhound. Like,
right? Listen, nah. But that's what we did back in the day. The road trips. I remember, like my dad's side of the family reunion every other year is an hour, and so I remember getting the Astro van. I remember this so vividly. An Astro van, having a Nintendo in there, and we driving through Virginia, going down to North Carolina for family reunion. Like,
and this was before MapQuest, and this was before you had GPS in your phone.
This was the paper map. We had to follow that route, and you had to know how to read the interstates and all that stuff.
Stop at that gas station, ask for rest. They be like, go down 3 lights. You're gonna make a
now,
right.
If you just
right
take the 77 all the way down until you get to about the 85, that's gonna lead you into Greensboro.
Now, if you see a sign that says going to Virginia Beach, that means you're going the wrong way. So you get back home.
Right. You want to get back on and go the opposite direction.
So yeah, it's even those those fundamental times, being younger and really just being in the mix, we still carry that with us today. And so I'm glad that you shared that, man. Definitely brought back some memories.
So, but why do you think that it's important for more Black people to travel and to share their travel experiences?
Definitely plus one to everything that you just said, but also to add, I think a lot of times, like growing up, when you didn't have everything, you kind of were just like focused on the day to day and didn't really like think about everything. So it was kind of like one of those struggles, right? Like I remember going to school and like learning about these different places in the world, but now I get home and like be like, yo, like we ain't got no money, so this ain't gonna happen. But once I got to college, like the world opened up in a different way for me, and it was just like once I got to go to one place, and I was like, I want to go again, right? And start building up that travel toolkit, as I call it, right? And just add different things to it. I think it's super important because now, like when I do go home, to hear my younger, cousins and my family members, they're like, yo, cuz, like you inspired me to do this. Or I had like a coworker one time come up to me and I had shared that I went to Cuba solo. And so like a couple years later, I went back to visit or whatever. And she like comes up to me, she's like, hey, I want to show you some pictures from Jamaica. Like I went by myself and I was inspired from you going to Cuba by yourself. And I'm just like, wow, like that's huge, right? And so it's like you just never know who may be watching you.
Yeah.
And it, you know, it's kind of like a connection because you know what that feeling is like, right? To
Mm-hmm.
be somewhere off U.S. soil and kind of just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to piggyback off a point that you made about even when you like starting to travel in college. One thing that I found out, one thing that I've lived and experienced is that the money is there, right? Like you just gotta, so you might have to go search your opportunity because all I'm looking back and looking at over the time, I went to Jamaica, I went to China, and I went to Israel while a student at Shaw University. And those opportunities, the only one that was like kind of presented to me was the Shaw and Jamaica Mountain Project, which is the one they have been doing for like the past 4 years. The other two, I had to go seek, but I didn't pay much out of pocket. I might have paid like $200 or $300 because they had sponsors. They just was looking for people to sign up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you listen to this and you are in school, and you say, I want to travel abroad, I want to study abroad, I want to do an internship, I want to do a summit, whatever it may be, look, find it, apply for it because 9 times out of 10, they got scholarships to help you pay for that travel. So it won't be a burden on you financially. So you just you gotta be willing to find those opportunities and take the risk.
Definitely agree. There's a lot of different avenues available to us, and you know, use the internet for some good. You know, there's a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different resources that we have access to, access, right? And so, just having those opportunities is life changing for real. Wouldn't be here
Yeah.
right now today, right?
Mm-mm. There would be no travel hour if we had not had these experiences.
Amen. So
So
that's the biggest thing, but definitely appreciate you holding us down, Matt. It's been a wonderful ride. You know, couldn't ask for a better co-host. I know we
yes,
getting
sir.
ready to wrap up, but I definitely wanted to talk about the wandering tip of the week. So, what you got for us this week, good brother?
My wandering tip of the week. Listen, I don't have no flight codes to give you this week, but what I really want you to do is to take everything that you've heard through episode 1 through 10 and apply it to you and your travels. Right? Book the trip, take the road trip, travel solo, do it scared. Look at that international work opportunity that you've been eyeing and wanting to do, but you didn't know whether or not you could do it or not. Do it. That's the whole point of the travel hour is to encourage you to use that PTO, encourage you to travel, encourage you to make the time to travel, and so that you can, explore the world because the world is big. You hear me say all the time, the world is big, and it's simply waiting on you. So, if my traveling tips for the week, it's just to make the time and to take everything that we've talked about from travel, documenting travel, from working, whatever. Do it and tell us tell us your experience, right? Leave a comment, leave a review, and let us know. After hearing the Travel Hour podcast, I did X, Y, and Z, and I had a great time, right? Let us know. We want to hear from you.
Talk to me.
So, yeah, talk to us. We want to know because these are the things that are helping us and keep us going and encourages us to keep on putting out content for you all.
Definitely. We want to leave on a positive note, but before we do that, I did want to take some time to shout out Quentin Powell, one of our fraternity brothers. He just lost his father this week, and so I know
Oh
his
man,
father was not only just a great father to him, but a monument in the community up in Baltimore. You know, a barber is the rock of the community,
yeah,
in any black community, and so you know that's a big loss. So definitely sending thoughts, prayers, peace, healing
hmm
energy, and also clarity through this time
yeah.
for him and the family. So we hear what you, Q. Love you, man.
Yes, sir. Love you. Keep your head up.
But the positive note we want to leave on as well is just, you know, making that time. But we want to definitely just shout out our travel, our family for making the time to listen to us, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And I know there's a lot of stuff going on throughout the day, and so and there's a lot of different podcasts out here. But we truly do appreciate y'all from all the people we met all over the years. to the people streaming from the different countries, to the
Mm-hmm.
people who have followed us on social media, to the people who have reached out and had questions and things like that. We appreciate y'all, and we appreciate y'all so much. I can't thank
So
y'all.
much. Yeah. Thank you. Shout out to y'all. Yeah, we couldn't have done it with you without you all encouraging us and letting us know that y'all are listening. It's one thing for us to put it out and release it, but to really, not only look at the numbers on the back end, but to hear you all say, "Yo, I listened to your podcast." And I loved every minute of it, giving us pointers on what we could change, and maybe giving us some topics that we could talk about. We appreciate every bit of it. We definitely want to shout out our publicist, Mariah. I want to shout out Dr. E for coming on and chopping up with us and giving us some pointers. And it's only the beginning of the travel hour. Listen, we're going to take time to rest and to reset and to kind of plan, but you better believe season 2, we coming with some fire. We're going to come with some fire. So, Joc, it's definitely been a pleasure to serve alongside you. Wouldn't have it no other way either. And so, yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm glad we've made it to. We have we put this vision into motion, and now it's a thing. And so, I'm just excited to see where it's going to go from here.
Yeah, so definitely. You know what? Let me stop right here. Hold on. Let me give a shout out to our guests. I just pulled up the list, so I'm looking at it now. But shout out to Herc, the homie Herc over there at Next
Yeah,
Level
shout
Travel
out
for
to
coming
you.
on. Appreciate you. Shout out to Leah Seeley for coming
Mm-hmm.
on, do it for the gram for us and giving us tips on how to make better reels. Definitely shout out to Kim and Tia.
Yeah,
Y'all are some rock stars. Definitely living abroad and doing that. Y'all are so dope. And shout out to my man Daryl. Daryl came on and talked about why black men travel, why we should continue to do that, and definitely shout out to Buck and CJ, y'all family.
yeah, yeah.
Appreciate y'all for coming on and sharing y'all experience, and then shout out to LaSarah for
Mm-hmm.
sharing your experiences with us as well. So we have some great guests.
And all of our guests are graduates of HBCUs, if I'm not mistaken.
Except for Leah, but she a granddaughter of HBCU
That's
graduate.
it.
So,
We'll take
we,
that. We'll take it. We'll take it.
we love her.
We'll take it.
But yeah, definitely was intentional about the people we brought on,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely was intentional about why we brought them on. And so,
Yeah,
um, appreciate them. Appreciate them. Yeah, definitely.
definitely, definitely.
Well, it's about that time. You can go ahead and take us out, brother Matt.
Yeah, man. So, if you have not already followed us, follow us on Instagram at the THEE Travel Hour. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find us on YouTube, and you can follow us there. Connect with us. If you haven't listened to the other episodes, go ahead and catch up. Listen to them. Leave a review. Let us know how you like the content. And be on the lookout for season 2. Joc, how can they find you?
Well, let them know season 2 is going to be on the way. 2023, we coming back with a vengeance. So we're
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
for bigger and brighter things on the horizon for season 2. But we thank y'all for rocking with season 1. But definitely y'all can find me on the gram at _Zigster with 2 G's. That's where you can find me. And you also can find us on the Travel Hour platform as well.
Dope, dope. Yes, sir. You can find me on Instagram at according to TOMP, according to MP. And yeah, follow me, connect with me. And yeah, I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you. But without further Joc, it's been real. It's been
Always.
fun. It's been a journey, and it's not goodbye. It's just to be continued. And
Sir.
so, Travel Hour fam, thank you for rocking with us for season 1, and we look forward to seeing you in 2023 for season 2 of the Travel Hour. But keep watch on our Instagram page. We're gonna be active there in the meantime, documenting some of the trips that we go on. And you never know what you might catch. You might go live. We might post a poll or something like that. So be on the look. Make sure you follow our Instagram page and be on the lookout for the content that we'll be releasing in the in between time. Yeah. So Joc, I think we've done what we're supposed to do here today. And it's time to sign off.
Yes, sir.
Travel Hour fam. Until next time, it's been real.
Peace.